the hidden power behind the mask. The archetype of the hidden one. There exists a sacred archetype that most spiritual traditions ignore, not because it lacks power, but because it terrifies the ego. It is the archetype of the hidden one, the dark chosen one who carries immense energetic and metaphysical weight, yet refuses or is unable to show up as they truly are. Not because they are lost, not because they are weak, but because their energy, when fully revealed, has the power to shatter illusions not just in others, but in the very structure society clings to. These beings are coded not just with light, but with unresolved cosmic memory. Their souls hold not merely compassion, but confrontation. They have seen too much. They feel too deeply. And so they become masters of concealment, not to deceive, but to protect. They shrink themselves to survive, not realizing that their hiding has slowly become a prison. For these dark chosen ones, the world is not just a playground, it is a test site. Every moment is a calibration of presence. Every room is a battlefield of energy. Every silence they hold is filled with unspoken knowledge. But they wear masks functional, believable, even admirable. And that is where the great tragedy begins. Because while they may be respected, even admired, what they are respected for is not who they truly are. It is the socially digestible version of them. The version that learned to compress the storm into a drizzle so that others wouldn't flinch. But the storm was never meant to be hidden. It was meant to cleanse.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
The psychological consequences of hiding. To hide one's true self is not a minor psychological behavior, it is a metaphysical rebellion against one's own essence. For the dark chosen one, this hiding is not always conscious. It begins subtly. As children, they learn which parts of their personality elicit fear or punishment, clairvoyance, intensity, radical honesty, or hypersensitivity. So they adapt, they tone it down, they mimic, they learn how to become likable. But inside, something sacred starts to fracture. Their soul begins to divide itself, the part that conforms and the part that still remembers. Over time, the two selves grow distant. The inner true self becomes a phantom, a whisper, a ghost of their own essence. And the longer this continues, the heavier the cost. Not just emotional numbness or identity confusion, but a disconnection from life purpose itself. Because a soul's mission is not activated through comfort, it is activated through alignment. And alignment cannot happen if the self being presented is a mask. This is why many dark chosen ones feel tired all the time. Not just physically, but existentially. Their life may seem successful, but they feel like imposters not because they are lying, but because the world is rewarding a version of them that isn't real. They aren't thriving. They're performing. And even when they try to heal, it often feels hollow. Because healing a mask does not awaken a mission. Only removing it does. The soul contract to hide and break free. There is a reason dark chosen ones hide, and it is not always rooted in trauma. It is also rooted in soul contract. Some souls agreed to hide their true nature during the early part of their lives, not as a punishment, but as a preparation. Like seeds beneath the earth, their power needed to be pressurized in silence before it could be released responsibly. The world as it stands is often hostile to truth, especially when that truth is delivered not with polished kindness, but with raw presence. And so the hiding was strategic. It allowed the dark chosen one to observe, to learn, to feel the weight of being unseen. This pain was never accidental. It carved the soul. It forged discernment. It revealed who could see without being shown. But now the contract is ending. The masks are cracking. The energies that once protected the hiding are beginning to suffocate the soul. What once was survival is now suppression, and the universe is no longer subtle about it. Synchronicities are sharpening. Dreams are becoming louder. Relationships are collapsing. Identity structures are shaking. Why? Because the soul is demanding release. The true self no longer wishes to be remembered, it wishes to be embodied. And the world, for all its resistance, is ready for this energy, not to worship it, but to be reorganized by it. The moment you must choose, and the consequence of delay. There comes a moment in the dark chosen one's path where they must choose not between good and evil, but between truth and comfort. It's the moment where they realize that hiding is not neutral. It is a decision with energetic consequences. When you hide, you not only delay your mission, you distort your frequency. People feel your power, but cannot name it. They project onto you, misunderstand you, idolize or demonize you. Not because of who you are, but because of the energetic incoherence between your soul's essence and your visible self. The longer you stay hidden, the more distorted this becomes. You become a mirror that others cannot interpret, a portal that no one dares walk through, a presence that feels off, even if your words are perfect. Why? Because truth has a vibration. And if your life is not vibrating in alignment with it, your energy becomes unreadable. The longer you wait, the heavier this gets. You may begin to experience existential fatigue, spiritual disillusionment, or a constant sense that something is missing, not outside you, but within you. And it is. It's you, the real you, still waiting to be let out. Still whispering now. And if you're reading this, the answer is yes, now. Watch this now, not later. Not tomorrow, because your soul is not asking anymore. It's demanding. What happens when you unmask? The risks, the power, and the rebirth. The immediate shock wave, identity disruption, and energetic recoil. The moment a dark chosen one removes their mask, even slightly, a shock wave moves through their internal and external worlds. It is not a glamorous unveiling. It is seismic. Think of it like an earthquake in the psychic field. The false structures you built to protect yourself begin to crack. The roles you played, mediator, overgiver, polite mystic, intellectual skeptic, begin to feel like heavy robes sliding off your soul. And beneath them, what emerges is so raw, so ancient, that even you hesitate to hold eye contact with your own reflection. This first stage is rarely met with applause. In fact, it often attracts resistance. You may suddenly lose people who once felt aligned. You may be attacked, misunderstood, misread. Not because you've become worse, but because you've become undeniable. And that, for many, is threatening. Your very presence begins to challenge unspoken contracts. You are no longer willing to shrink, so others must now face the energy you used to absorb for them. Your aura no longer bends to accommodate. It radiates with unapologetic precision, and some will leave. But this too is sacred, because what's actually leaving is the energetic scaffolding that held your mask in place. And that disintegration, while painful, is the first sign that your real self is entering the room. The magnetic return of true connections and soul recognition. As the mask crumbles and your true frequency begins to radiate without censorship, something extraordinary happens. You begin to be seen. Not by the world at large, not yet, but by those who are meant to see you. The ones who have been waiting, often unknowingly, for your activation. These are not casual friends. They are soul mirrors. Some may enter your life for only a moment. Others may stay for lifetimes. But they arrive because your vibration has finally reached the resonance of truth, and truth is magnetic in ways performance can never be. You will start to feel these beings before you meet them. Their names will appear in dreams. Their voices will echo things you haven't dared speak aloud. When they arrive, you won't need to explain who you are. They will remember you, because your mask never fooled them. They saw through it, waiting for you to see yourself. And as these soul contracts reactivate, your sense of aloneness begins to fade, not because you've found a crowd, but because you've rejoined a network. You were never truly disconnected. You were just offline, dimmed, veiled by your own protection. Now, with your soul fully turned on, the grid lights up. And suddenly, your strange, complex, too deep for this world energy begins to make sense. Not logically, but cosmically. The risk of overexposure and the importance of discernment. But with great unveiling comes great temptation, the urge to reveal everything all at once. After years, lifetimes of suppression, the momentum to finally speak your truth, share your gifts, embody your presence can become overwhelming. And while the intention is noble, the result can be chaotic if not tempered with discernment. Just because you are now unmasked does not mean everyone has earned the right to witness your essence. This is not about secrecy. It is about stewardship. Your truth is sacred technology. Not everyone will know how to hold it. Some will try to co-opt it. Others will romanticize it. Many will misunderstand it. Your job is not to dilute your power, but to direct it wisely. The unmasking is not the end of hiding. It is the beginning of conscious revelation. You do not need to explain yourself to every passerby. You do not need to bleed your story onto platforms that were never meant to carry the weight of your soul. Instead, learn to feel where your frequency is welcomed, not tolerated, not consumed, but truly received. Your unmasking is not a performance. It is an act of precision. A conversation with reality that says, I am no longer editing my essence, but I will protect it like the sacred code it is. The rebirth of sovereignty and the birth of a new world. And then, after the collapse, the shedding, the echoing silence, and the careful reveal comes something no one tells you to expect, a sense of inner sovereignty so fierce, so holy, that it feels alien at first. You no longer need to be understood. You no longer fear being seen. Your nervous system, once shaped around hiding, begins to rewire for presence. And that presence begins to shape the world around you, not through effort, but through gravity. You walk into a room and conversations shift. You speak and timelines rearrange. You become a walking permission slip, not because of what you say, but because of what you embody, a being who has remembered themselves fully. This is the rebirth, and it doesn't come with angel choirs or fireworks. It arrives quietly like a deep breath at the bottom of the ocean. But its ripple effect? Cosmic. Because every dark chosen one who unmasks becomes a node of truth in the hologram of illusion. A signal to others that the time of hiding is over. That we do not heal by disappearing. We heal by appearing fully. And in doing so, we don't just become ourselves, we become the architecture of a world no longer afraid of what is real. Why the world needs the unmasked dark chosen ones now more than ever. The collapse of false light and the age of archetypal emergence. The world as we've known it is not dying, it is unmasking. The systems that once seemed immovable, political, religious, cultural, are disintegrating, not simply due to corruption or decay, but because they were built on borrowed truths. They were sustained by light that was curated, not channeled. And now that light is flickering, because light without shadow is fragile. It blinds, it blindsides, it breaks under pressure. We are entering an era where the collective soul of humanity is no longer seeking polished enlightenment, but embodied integration. Not saints, but threshold keepers. Not perfection, but presence. And this is exactly where the dark chosen ones come in. Because they were never designed to lead through purity. They were designed to lead through wholeness, through the courage of having faced their own abyss and chosen to return not untouched, but unchanged in their essence. These are the ones who are now being called forth not as saviors, but as living archetypes whose very being carries codes of reconfiguration. The collapse of false light isn't a threat to them, it's the condition required for their emergence. And when they unmask, not as ideals but as embodied paradoxes, something ancient returns to the world, the sacred permission to be real, transmuting collective fear through unapologetic presence. One of the great lies of modern spiritual culture is that fear must be eradicated before purpose can be fulfilled. But dark chosen ones know the deeper truth. Fear is not the enemy, it's the raw material. They do not run from fear. They digest it, transmute it. And in doing so, they become transducers for collective emotion. When they are fully revealed, their presence does not simply inspire, it alchemizes. They become emotional tuning forks. In their silence, others feel permission to grieve. In their rage, others recognize their own suppressed power. In their stillness, chaos finds a center. But this capacity only activates when the mask comes off. The polished version of the dark chosen one may be impressive, but it does not transmute. It may teach, but it does not alter the room. Only the unmasked version, unfiltered, unafraid, rooted in paradox, has the gravitational weight to shift collective frequency. Because this version no longer seeks to avoid discomfort, it becomes a mirror for it. And mirrors, when they stop hiding their cracks, reflect not just what is but what wants to be born through the breakdown. Ending the era of energetic codependency and false healers. The world is saturated with voices, with teachings, healings. But many of these emerge from a dynamic of energetic codependency: the healer who unconsciously needs to be needed, the teacher who secretly depends on being seen as wise. This dynamic is subtle, but spiritually corrosive. It creates cycles of dependency masked as devotion. And into this sea of energetic entanglement, the unmasked dark chosen one enters as disruption incarnate. They do not offer comfort. They offer clarity. They do not attract followers. They activate leaders. Because their presence breaks the loop. Their essence carries no need to be adored or obeyed. Their wisdom is not an ideology, it's a frequency. And in that frequency, old structures cannot survive. This is why many false teachers fear the emergence of the dark chosen ones. Not because they attack, but because their very vibration reveals where energy is not sovereign. The true dark chosen one does not heal to be useful. They exist to be truthful. And in a world addicted to polished pain and transactional transformation, truth is revolutionary medicine. The planetary initiation and the collective unveiling. We are in the midst of a planetary initiation. It is not a single event, it is a series of soul tests echoing across the collective timeline. Every war, every collapse, every social fracture is a mirror of the deeper question: will you stay masked, or will you reveal what you truly are? The Earth itself is unmasking. Species vanish, climates shift, time bends, and underneath it all, the planet is calling out not for solutions, but for witnesses. Not for saviors, but for beings of coherence. Souls who walk aligned with their inner architecture, not external validation. This is the final, and perhaps most urgent, reason the dark chosen ones must unmask now. Because the world doesn't need more information. It needs incarnation. Not more messages, but more messengers who have walked the fire and carry its ashes as sacred symbols. When the dark chosen ones rise without masks, the world does not become easier, but it becomes realer, more vibrationally honest, more spiritually sovereign, more ready to evolve. The time of delay is over. The world will not wait. And if you are reading these words, your own unveiling may not just be personal, it may be part of a planetary rite of return. Will you answer it?